So today I'm going to be doing some live Halloween themed glass pieces. I'll be making some pendants and doing a few different types. I've got some color that I want to use for some little ghosts. I'm going to make some little bat wings and who knows, maybe a few other things, but I'm just going to toss this blank in the kiln. So I got this big orange blowout. Who knows? Maybe I'll try and make a jack-o'-lantern or something with it. I don't really like making pumpkins, but this is already sleeved in clear, so since there's a nice layer of clear over it, I won't be boiling the color. So I'm gonna pop this in there. And I see there's at least one person here now. Hopefully a few more people show up. Cool. Let that piece warm up in there. And, so I've got my black light here because I've got a couple colors I wanted to use that are UV-reactive. Oh, it's really not showing in the video, is it? It's tough to see. So this is, I believe it's glow stick. It goes a bright pink under a black light, but it's tough to see in this light. So I've used this for ghosts in the past. I've also got this one here. This is this one will go green under the black light. Yeah, you can see it there. So that's that one's called Electric Coconut. Then I've got some citrine here. So this one's gonna go nice bright green as well. Might use that on the bat wings for some of the lines, the ridges on the wings. So get this going. Seems like there's at least one person kicking around. Looked like there was 3 people in the live stream. I don't really care if anybody shows up. I just wanted to get in here and try and make some product for the YouTube channel, show people what I do around Halloween. Try to fix up the angle there. Got ventilation going. I think first I'll start with a little bat wing. Really enjoy making these. Got a rod of galaxy here. I'm going to gather this up. It's nice sparkling black. Sometimes I'll actually stripe the galaxy onto a clear rod and then pull it down to use for my bat wings. Makes the color stretch a little further, but I do like them when they're all just kind of dense and don't let any light through. So this one we're going to do just a solid piece of color. Actually add a little handle to this. Got a little carried away. I always forget steps when I'm doing the live streams. really want to make sure I have enough glass here to make a nice big bat wing for you guys. Try to avoid burning my fingers. Got to get a little bit more of a handle on that. Kind of let it set up. Also got a buddy who's a DJ. Last year their Halloween show here locally in Paris, called Terror Town. I made a nice bat wing pendant like we're going to do right now as a door prize. And my buddy told me he really wanted it. He was reluctant to give it away. So I figured this Halloween I'd have one for him. DJ name is Flintwright, my buddy Garrett, local here in Terrace, BC. Got a DJ named Sully coming up, who's a bit of a mentor of his. So I'm excited for the show. I was actually working on the stage piece for the show. I did a design, it's a bunch of like houses. Kind of like the silhouette of a bunch of buildings that are going to be painted white and get projection mapped for the show. I'm excited to see it. Loosely based on some buildings and backgrounds of Hellboy comics. How I do a Hellboy pendant, or a Hellboy themed pendant, maybe not a Hellboy piece necessarily. Alright, so now we got a nice gather of color. We're going to flatten that out for the wing. Flat spot there. I'll stretch this out. Sometimes I'm really careful to have very straight handles, or usually. But by the nature of a bat wing, you kind of want it to bend in one direction or the other. So get it kind of stretched out there. And then kind of let gravity let it droop a little. Then I'll come back in on the tip. With a little bit more of a bend. That tip of the wing when it starts to point. Pull that away. nice start. Then we want a couple more of those points. So get in there, peak about halfway, or not quite halfway, probably a little, around a third of the way down. Get it nice and hot, so a bunch of glass wants to pull out, not just a little bit. Handle up a little. You want to stretch it slow at first, because you want to make sure it's dragging the glass deeper in, so you're not just making a little point. And once more, another third of the way down. Change the angle of that, so I'm going to heat it again. Kind of drag it. Carefully drag it outwards in the direction I want. Yeah. There we go. Pretty good start. Back into the tip, straighten it out, give it a little bit more of a point now. We can do slightly more fine shaping now that we've got the points started. Cool, that's looking pretty good. Nice shape. It's got a bit of a droop right at the end here. Wings aren't totally straight. Make sure the whole piece is warm. And I've got a little stringer of citrine here that I prepped up before. So the stringer of citrine is going to make the kind of like bones of the wing, give it a little bit of a three-dimensional shape. So I always start at the tip, right up here, and travel downwards. I do dial the flame down quite a bit because the stringer can start to flop around if you heat it too quickly. I want to get a nice kind of straight, even curve. We'll be stopping probably about halfway where all of the bones meet. A little bit of a ridge there. I left that bump where I pulled the glass away. Sometimes I'll pick that away, but I want to leave that bump this time because we're going to use it later. So I'm going to do the next from there down towards the end. And then that bump that I left, when I start the next two lines from each other point we pulled out, I'm aiming for that bump, and I want to make that nice sweeping curve again. Yeah, you can see in the reflection all those ridges, and and the little bump. So that bump, because every so often, it kind of, I like picking that one out the same way I did the other tips of the wing. It's kind of like a bending point in a wing, so you want to make sure it's still a thing there. Find that stringer before I wreck it. If I step on it, it'll fall to bits. But yeah, there's that. Nice wing. I want to go back in over those lines and just make sure any like weird angles, any acute angles where the glass is just sitting on top gets melted in a little. I'll go back in once more and reshape all those points just because I wanted to melt everything in and they kind of start to sink back in. Pretty good looking Batman. On that tip. I'm going to touch it up at the end. I don't always flatten my bales like I'm about to, but I wanted it to kind of match the shape of the wing and stay flat rather than having a round end. Get this like a little bit more like an even cylinder. Quick little roll. Let it hang so that it's kind of straight. Try and get my barber a little flatter, so I angle my torch down here. it flat. Squish it a couple times just like that. That little stretch. And I let that droop forward. Then I'll heat it all again, dipping it in and out of the flame like this. We'll roll it around with the tweezers. That up, make sure the connection point wants to line up right where I want it. Use gravity to kind of let it droop closer, push it close. Now I want to get that rip and hop before I touch the two parts, so that they're ready to flow together. They're quite hot, and I push together, pull just a little, and any acute angle is pretty much gone. There's a bit of a V shape. And I'll use my pointed reamer, round one, not the octagonal one, because I don't want to make any bumps. Open up that sharp angle. It's getting a little better. Now it needs a little evening out, so I am going to use the octagonal reamer now. Just trying to make sure it doesn't droop in any weird direction. Going through both sides to try and open up so it's even. Pretty good. Now I'm going to heat the connection point where on the wing side, not the part where we just made that loop. That end of the wing was looking a little fat and a little short. I just want to stretch it a little more, so I'll kind of just use a little bit of pressure upwards to straighten the paint. Yeah, point it a little bit. That's what we want. The tip's starting to glow. It got cold enough that the UV-reactive glass will show. But I'll have to show some pictures of that on my Instagram or something tomorrow. Maybe I'll make a post on YouTube too, so you YouTube people who don't follow me on Facebook and Instagram can see it. But if you don't, I'm always posting over there too. Cool. Cool. Next up, this is the glow stick. This is going to be pink glowing glass. So, should we call it a little ghost? Color tip honey in the same color. Just like the Batwing, we're going to gather this up and mash it flat. I do let gravity like kind of stretch these out a little bit, but not as much as I do on the wings. And then, just like with the wing, we're going to drag some glass out to make that ghost shape. So I'm going to start by making the bottom kind of like wavy forms of the ghost. And I start with the corner, kind of like, we're going to heat from right here. And then we're going to drag it downwards. Down and out. Going down, 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 down. Pull outwards a little bit. You're not pulling hard. Get that handle off there. Has a little bit of other color on there. You better get it away before I leave a bunch of color I don't want around. Once again, keeping that kind of quarter or corner. Use gravity, let that glass start to fall, and then grab a little high and pull downwards. But maybe not as far or possibly farther than the other side. I like to make them odd. I don't want to try and make them too symmetrical. There we go, get started. And I usually go in for some spot in the middle. Roughly. This sort of thing's a lot more like free form than a lot of the work that I do, so it's easy to just kind of wing it and it looks better rather than trying to make things perfect and repeat them over and over. dial the torch back a little bit. Put some eyes in the mouth. Couple eyes. Then a slightly bigger glob, I heat up the end a little more, so I've got a small gather and really push it in. So it kind of swells outwards as I push it on. Then you got kind of trying to make it look like it's saying boot. I'll flatten those out just a little bit. Make sure I heat until any acute angles from around the edges goes away. Kind of hold the piece at every different angle so the glass wants to fall away from those spots. Kind of even out. Yeah, that's right, ghost today. It's UV-reactive, it goes pink when there's a black light. Let's see if I can show that off. You'll probably see by the handle. Yeah. There we go. You can see it. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good one. Grab our color-tipped punty that's the same color on the end of this rod so that I don't have to pick any clear away. The handle cleans up nice when you use the same color. Grab onto one of those center points. So for the loop on top, I wanted to stretch the rod out because I didn't want it to be thicker than the pendant itself. Give it a little stretch. Heat the connection point where the loop meets the top of the ghost. Let it droop to the front. Give it a little tug. don't quite let it touch usually. I think this one might be actually touching. The point here is get it really hot. Oh no, it wasn't touching. It's just very close. And that gives me the chance to get it ripping hot, push them together. There's a little bit of a lump, pull them back apart, and that evens everything out. Circle. There we go. Spend most of my time looking for these again. Gotta make sure it's warm. Don't want to shock the glass with the cold metal. Move on to that. There we have it. Nice little ghost. Shut that down for a second. See if I'm missing any comments in the live chat. It's hard to blow glass and watch the screen at the same time. We got trippy stuff. Yeah. Big hearts. Jake Mosher, what's up? Good to have you here with us. And then Kendra. Oh, glad to see you're here. Thanks for popping in and watching. I think I'll have a chance this week to sandblast the rest of those pendants that we had been talking about. Well, doesn't look like I've got any suggestions for what to make next, so I think I might do that thing that I'm gonna try a thing. I wanted to make a jack-o'-lantern pendant. Like I said at the beginning of the live stream, I really try to avoid doing pumpkins. I don't like the way the orange boils, and for simple production work, pumpkins are not a thing I want to make. I'd rather do the bat wings and the ghosts and stuff. But right now, I think we need maybe another stringer. I'm trying to figure out exactly what materials I need. So I want to draw a jack-o'-lantern face, all in that black galaxy with the... Oh, got these little stringers kicking around and dropping them. But yeah, we're gonna make a jack-o'-lantern pendant. I'm gonna make a hollow pendant this time, so this thing's gonna be a little bit more detailed. I'm gonna spend a little bit of time on it. Where'd that? Ah, there. Trying to find all the glass that I drop on the floor. Yeah, so like I said earlier, if you didn't know, this was a bright orange before I put it in the kiln. It's looking nice and brown now because the cadmium colors change quite a bit when you heat them up. I'll actually grab a rod of that color so you can see what it'll look like when it's done. It's a nice bright color. And thoughts on lunar glass? Lunar glass, I'm not 100% sure if I know what you're meaning. If you want to clarify a touch, yeah. Yeah, I think I'd like to pull another stringer of that black before we get busy on trying to draw a face. So, through a little chunk and stretch it down. Oh, oh come on. Why? I had the live chat up and I could see your comment. Oh, there it is. Just a brand you saw. Okay. Lunar glass. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar. I couldn't tell you. Thank you. That's how we pull a stringer, or at least one way. Sometimes I'll just heat up the rod instead of gathering it up. So this is like hot glass. But I'll put it in my ventilation system right in front of the vent, let the air pass through it for a couple seconds. Now I can hold it. That should be plenty of color for drawing a little face on the end of this pendant. You know, this feels like way more glass than I want in my hands. So because that was a full stick of color blown out with clear glass over it, there's quite a bit of color there. What I'm going to do is pop a hole on the end, add a blow tube, and then grab what I want for the pendant rather than keeping it all as one piece. We got a 9.5, I think, and that is 2 mil wall. This is what I use for blow tubes. Try not to do that. That was a bit of a mistake. So that's what you call bubble trash. This shit flies around in your shop. it'll float in the air. You don't want to breathe it. That's why we got the ventilation system. One of the reasons, anyway. Tube flare. Trying to blow out off to one side. So there's probably a little bit of unevenness in the wall weight. The tube's a little thicker on one side than the other, so the hole that I'm trying to blow is trying to come out from one side. Once I handle up to this and start being able to heat the whole thing again, I'll be able to kind of even out the glass a little bit, give it a couple of heats and puffs, and that'll even out the walls, but the moment it's going to be a little funny. And I think the reason it got a little odd, I can explain. Like the usual process where I do a blowout of color by itself and then sleeve in a tube of clear. For this one, I actually took a big thick rod of clear and gathered the rod into it and did the blowout all in one, like I got the layer of clear and did the blowout all in kind of one big step instead of doing it as separate processes. Trying to protect the cadmium color, the orange, from the flame, avoid any boiling. I don't usually sleeve color like that, or blow it out like that, so it definitely turned out a little different. Just kind of rolling this around on my bench rollers to try to straighten out the tube, just make sure I have it on a nice even handle. I say bench rollers, I got a pair of skate trucks sitting on a 2x4. I'd like to build myself some nicer bench rollers, but they get the job done. I'd rather do tricks in here than the skate park these days. Alright. I think we're looking pretty good here. Pull off a chunk good enough for this pendant. This, I believe it was orange juice, the color, the cadmium colors. They actually do have a bit of a UV reactive property to them. Don't we all? Alright, we've got a nice hollow chunk. I'm going to try and condense it back and puff it out a couple times just to even out the walls. See, it's a little funny there. I'll start with the end, get that thickened up, just thin tube the flame cut. These cadmium colors, these opaque, bright colors, have a bit of a UV reactive property. I really like it. It's a lot of fun. I noticed it, I think, Bob Hastings and Torch Talk gave me the heads up that Canary would do it. I knew that the cadmium colors were a little bit glowy. But they're not really marketed that way, so I kind of forget. And it's not much of a glow, but the right light looks really cool. Really pausing in between the puffs, giving it some time to cool off, so that the hot spots start to cool off, and they don't stretch more than the colder spots. It's like a process of going back and forth, and evens everything out. I'm punching up to the front temporarily so I can even out the back side of the bubble. I'd like to even that out before I go on to like drawing the face on the front, so so that I don't have to do that, overheat everything after I draw a pattern. You can really kind of tell the hot spots. If you look at the backside, see that dark spot? That's the thicker spot that's taking too much time to heat, and everything else is getting hotter faster. Sometimes people ask how you can tell if the walls are uneven. You gotta get some heat in there. Don't figure it out. You can tell by how it moves, you can tell by how it flows, you can tell by how it flows. That heat homogenize, stretch. So we're looking pretty good now, I think. So I'm letting gravity kind of collect the glass a little bit. Trying to make a wider kind of hollow disc form, so kind of flattening out the front but leaving it like a little bit rounded. Starting to look pretty good. Probably flatten it a little bit more. Go. I think I like that one. So, next step, we're going to draw that face. And because I had to section this down and pull it off of the rest of that tube, if you look right at the middle, a bit of a oddness, a little spot in the color. There's even a bit of clear. There's a tunnel all the way through. I had to pull the tube away. And I'm going to carefully draw the nose right over that spot. Because I want to hide the crimes. Try and forget how it got made. So I'm going to land this right on top of that and draw a little triangle. Paddle to push it down. Make sure all the sides are kind of attached. We got a nose. So it's a bit of an odd process, kind of. I don't do a lot of drawing like this on pieces, but I want to make some eyes. So I didn't place the first two very well, but I'm starting with stringers so I can draw around them, and I can draw on the opposite side, and I can kind of keep on adding glass until they look even. looking a little odd at the moment. But gotta be careful putting my hands in front of the torch like that. Okay, start to even those things out. Now the mouth. I'd like to try and do some pointed teeth, but we'll see how good it gets. Probably about time I warm this whole thing back up too. Every so often you gotta get the heat back into things. I could throw it in the kiln and warm it up, but for the sake of keeping the live stream moving, kind of turn on a bit more of a propane-rich flame, just like. Smile to begin with. I don't know, a bunch of lines. I'm experimenting. Usually I don't like to learn things on a live stream, but doing it different today. Trying to give all those a bit of a point on the end. I kind of hate this. At the end of the day, it'll probably look better than I expect it to, as everything I don't like usually does. cool off a little before you can see much of it. Looks more like Wilson from Castaway than it does with Jack-o'-lantern. Doesn't it? Added a little bit more to the size of the mouth. I think that improved it a little bit. Does it need eyebrows? I'm trying to decide if that would give it some more attitude. Not too bad, eh? Definitely haven't spent much time drawing faces or anything like this on glass, so it's definitely a bit of a weird process doing it for the first time. that front. See it glowing from this side. Always looking. That sucks. Put that handle back on. That's my fault. I'm stretching a little too hard. Might be a little too hasty. Gotta let the heat get in there. Very thick spot on the back and I want to get rid of it, so keep the center. Rip it hot. Stab in, pull out. Twist it up. Try and keep dragging more glass out. And I did that again. Don't want that big heavy spot on the back side. it's definitely a bit of a struggle, but I don't know. Looks all right. Definitely not, doesn't quite look like a jack-o'-lantern necessarily, but I guess I'll have to experiment with that in the future. All right, let's see what we got in the live chat here. Oh, Amanda, you showed up. Cool. I know I got a piece to get to you. Yeah, Molly, if you're still in the show, it is lamp work that I do. Yeah, lamp working / flame working. Well, thanks for showing up, everybody. It looks like there's still 3 guys here. Got a few pieces made. I'm probably going to try and do this again soon. Who knows? Maybe I'll go live again today. Yeah, thank you very much. Really happy to share my work. I'm gonna try and do this more regularly because you know, sometimes it's hard to sit down at my computer and do some editing, but sitting down for a live like this. So yeah, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah, back to the house. Gonna have myself a snack, and who knows, maybe I'll be back in a little bit. Thanks, guys.